Nā koutou katoa, nā mihi nui ki a koutou. Tēnā koe Ngāi Tahu, nā mana whenua o tēnei rohi, tēnā koe. When I agreed to do this, I didn't realise how large the audience was going to be. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done to myself this morning? But looking at you all, and it demonstrates the importance of this particular kaupapa to you, to the industries that you work in, to the communities that you live in, and to Aotearoa. So I just want to congratulate you all on coming and participating, whether you're online or whether you're here in person today. Lisa Tumahai aho, I'm the Kaiwhakahaere of Te Rūnanga o Ngāi Tahu, which is the chair of the Tribal Council of Ngāi Tahu. And our area spans about 80% of the landmass of the South Island. I'm honoured to stand before you today to address a topic of immense importance, the future of food and fibre production and its significance to Ngāi Tahu. Te Rūnanga, as I said, we're made up of 18 Papatipu Rūnanga, and our areas span the landmass of the South Island of New Zealand. There are 18 governing board members at my table, which makes it quite a significant size board. Each of our Papatipu Rūnanga has their own marae situated throughout the Ngāi Tahu takiwā, and our northern boundary is Kahurangi Point on the west coast of the South Island, across to Piopiotahi, just below Blenheim, on the east, and ranging right down through to the bottom of the south. Today I'll talk about why the future of food and fibre production is important to Ngāi Tahu, and how we are transforming our business practices to become more sustainable. Food and fibre production is deeply rooted in our cultural identity, crucial for the well-being of our people, and an opportunity to address the environmental challenges we face. Where I come from on the West Coast, we had a rangatahi, a youth conference, and we asked them what were the most important things to them. And this was just after we started coming out of COVID. And the most important things were the basic necessities of living, their home, their warm home, and the protection and preservation of our water and security of food. And the protection of our mahinga kai practice, so that security of food source was tied to our ability to still hunt and gather foods within our region. One of the things I want to talk about to add to that is, as an iwi, we're in an interesting time in our journey and our history in New Zealand. We're still relatively young in that history. The post-settlement iwi of Ngāi Tahu is 25 years old. Prior to that, we've got 800 years of history, which is significantly young. But one of the things I want to just mention why I'm here is that we start to depoliticise that. The very fabric of our society in New Zealand needs to be rebuilt. The way that iwi are integrating, participating, are large decision makers, have a growing significant asset base, are heavily invested in primary industries and the extractive industries, are a major part of our society and our business communities going forward. They are playing roles in governance and significant decision making and influencing decisions across New Zealand. And it would be great if we could move on past the tittle-tattle of co-governance. The reason I say that is you're sitting in Canterbury and ECAN, the decision that ECAN made to be celebrated. And the reason I say that is I take the opportunity of the importance of iwi participating in food and fibre. Māori are in many ways leading the change forward, a sustainable future with our traditional concepts of mahinga kai, kaitiakitanga and whanaungatanga, guiding approaches to food and fibre production across government and industry. This shows that Indigenous thinking can not just inform, but lead the journey towards a more sustainable future. But first, some context about Ngāi Tahu, who we are, where did we come from, and where are we going? Ngāi Tahu is an iwi that made its home in Te Waiponamu, the South Island, more than 800 years ago. Our tipuna, our ancestors, were the first long-distance seafarers riding the oceans across currents and navigating by the stars on voyaging waka from Hawaii Nui. They populated the islands of the South Pacific, eventually making their way to Aotearoa. The first people of Te Waitāha journeyed here on the Urua Waka over 800 years ago. They were followed by the migrations of Ngāti Waewae and Ngāi Tahu. By the mid-18th century, through warfare, intermarriage, and political alliances, a common allegiance of Ngāi Tahu was formed. Ngāi Tahu means the people of Tahu, linking us to our eponymous ancestor Tahu Potiki. Today, Ngāi Tahu has 87,000 registered iwi members. Ngāi Tahu formed permanent and semi-permanent hapū settlements in coastal and inland regions, supported by an intricate network of mahinga kai, a concept I will return to. Throughout our takiwa, some of our mahinga kai areas are being affected by coastal erosion, and access to many sites have been cut off over time. In some cases, the resources we have traditionally harvested are no longer as plentiful as they have been in the past. As kaitiaki, we need to think about the long-term sustainability of a site and whether it is appropriate to gather kai or whether we're best to wait until the next season. And so it's impossible to think about the future of food and fibre without talking about climate change. Challenge of our time, climate change. I've been the Deputy Chair of He Pauarangi, the Climate Change Commission, since 2019. This is a role and a responsibility I take very seriously because I am there to ensure Te Ao Māori, a Māori worldview, mātauranga Māori, knowledge, and tikanga Māori are considered and demonstrated in the work alongside the obligations to Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Iwi Māori have always shared a unique relationship with the whenua, our land, and uphold a responsibility to act as kaitiaki, or stewards, of the land and resources that have sustained our people, our ancestors, for generations. When we think about the generation to come, we need to consider what we are leaving for them. Delayed action on climate change will only increase the price that future generations will have to pay. Our Climate Action Plan, Te Kaunā Paparangi, aims to push our corporate activity to net zero carbon emissions. It sets ambitions, goals to guide us towards a sustainable future and is focused on reducing emissions, water conservation, renewable energy, waste reduction, and protecting our biodiversity and our mahinga kai. It draws on the wisdom of our tipuna while embracing innovation and experimentation to create a more resilient future for our whānau. We didn't create this climate change mess. Certainly here in the Pacific, we are low emitters comparative to the rest of the world. And we didn't create this mess. But we, like many other Indigenous people, will be disproportionately impacted by it. We're still working hard to mitigate that impact. However, things are not moving at a speed that I would like them to. We're powering our marae with solar energy to make them more resilient and self-sufficient, and identifying jobs for whānau in budding green energy economies. Over the last year, communities around Aotearoa have been hit hard by devastating floods. In March, Cyclone Gabriel struck Te Tairawhiti and the Hawke's Bay in the North Island, causing devastating flooding. Ngāi Tahu are a coastal people. All but 2 of our 18 marae are at risk from flooding and sea level rises. In Westport, 140k north of my own marae, flooding left 450 houses unlivable or damaged after the 3rd severe flood in as many years. That's a significant number of family homes in a town of just over 4,280 people. Security of water supply is likely to be the greatest issue for Waitaha Canterbury in the future. Even if the worst effects of climate change are not realised, drier average conditions during the summer months, together with increased demand for water, is likely to place pressure on resources. Much of the land that Māori kept, or which was returned through treaty settlements, is extremely marginal. Although it tends to be owned by large numbers of whānau, land use change may be something which is demanded by climate policy, but not remunerated. This may have a disproportionate impact and effect on Māori landowners who are restricted by complicated ownership structures and an inability to secure investment. Māori share a strong relationship with the natural world to the extent that many of our traditional narratives and mythologies suggest that we descend from the mountains and the waterways of our tribal territory. We must act now to protect the Te Ao, the natural environment, and adapt to the challenges and opportunities that are ahead of us. As Māori and as Ngāi Tahu, we are deeply connected with the Te Ao. This connection forms the basis of our cultural identity. We rely on these values established by our people over hundreds of years, and we base our decision-making off these, and this talks to our relationship with the environment. Some of you will have seen these values either in your industries that you're in or in government documents or wherever you may have seen them. But for us, I'll just give you a wee bit of a definition of them. Whanaungatanga is fostering relationships among our own and within our communities. It's really important. If we aren't fostering relationships within the communities that we live in, then we've got real problems, particularly if we want to participate as decision makers and influence what's happening in our communities. Manaakitanga, respecting and taking care of each other and those that live within our takiwā. Tohungatanga, growing the expertise and knowledge we need to strengthen ourselves. Kaitiakitanga, this role of guardianship is a responsibility and derives from our whakapapa, our genealogy and connection to place. We work actively to protect the people, the natural environment, our knowledge, our culture, our language, and resources that are important to us now and into the future. Tikanga is defined as appropriate action. We have a responsibility to ensure the norms defined by our culture and our people underpin our decision-making and our approach. And rangatiratanga, we strive to be leaders. We will strive to give our people the tools to live lives defined by choice, not by necessity. Self-determination is an aspiration we hold dear in all aspects of tribal activity. A holistic relationship creates an obligation in that we must care for, protect, restore, and respect our natural environment as though it is a living entity, and if it were yourself or one of your own whānau or family members. From a Ngāi Tahu perspective, this worldview drives our decision-making. Our knowledge of the natural environment handed down over generations and its values that place its well-being at the heart of everything we do mean that we can provide invaluable input into environmental policy and climate action. Partnership is provided for in the country's founding document, Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Under Te Tiriti, our tupuna entered contracts with the Crown to sell some of our land with the promise of the creation of reserves sufficient for our people to thrive, as well as the provision of key social infrastructure, including schools and hospitals. As history shows, the Crown did not honour its side of the bargain. Following that breach of contract, Te Keremi, the Ngāi Tahu claim, was born. Over 7 generations, Ngāi Tahu carried its quest for justice, led and inspired by an intergenerational philosophical approach. Our ancestors were pioneers in sustainable land and resource management, passing down knowledge and wisdom from generation to generation. Our connection to the land and the sustenance it provides has always been an integral part of who we are as Ngāi Tahu. So for us, as we look forward to the future of food and fibre, we also take care to draw from those who came before us, applying that traditional knowledge of our tupuna in new and innovative ways. We see ourselves as leaders in the drive towards sustainable food and fibre production. As an iwi, we can and often will change and innovate in our production methods much faster than traditional corporate structures. All of our business units know and understand that our iwi has high expectations regarding the sustainability and transparency of our iwi-owned businesses. In practical terms, what is Ngāi Tahu doing to make food and fibre production more sustainable? More broadly speaking, we're exploring innovative techniques that minimise environmental impact while maintaining productive and profitable operations. We're transforming our farming, forestry and fisheries operations to become more sustainable. Some examples: we're working with Otago University to restore marine life in Littleton Harbour, as well as along the Otago coastline through native kelp species, reseeding and paua restoration, as well as the removal of the invasive whakame seaweed. In the agricultural sphere, we're investing in agritech to address challenges around methane, phosphate and E. coli. Meanwhile, we've embarked on the most comprehensive regenerative dairy farm trial in the country with a view to transforming practices on our whenua. We're transforming our own farming business. We recognise that sustainable land use and farming practices are essential for the long-term health of our whenua. Alongside innovative science and technology, we're designing modern regenerative production systems, which will be the foundation of the way we produce food and fibre. Our whole farm-scale comparative study of regenerative agriculture is the most comprehensive trial in the country. The 7-year research program compares 2 side-by-side dairy farms, one using regenerative practices and the other conventional, at our Te Whenua Hou agricultural operation just north of Waimakariri River. We're looking to reduce water use, carbon emissions, nitrate leaching, and we're also evaluating the financial, social and environmental differences between those practices and the outcomes. The trial's testing the ability of regenerative farming to deliver sustainable and positive improvements in environmental impact, while also providing a working environment that's beneficial for our animals and our staff, and potentially something the wider sector can adopt and replicate at scale. Positive environmental impacts are not the only aspect of the program we're monitoring. Other desired outcomes include maintaining productivity levels while improving animal health and well-being. We've also invested in Leaf Company, establishing plant protein food system that prioritises people, place and planet. They're harnessing the best in human nutrition and innovation while reducing the overall impact the environment is creating. With Leaf, we share a commitment to the Canterbury region, a deep connection to the land in alignment with our future-focused environmental values. This investment and others are part of our investigation into sustainable land use and practice. Ngāi Tahu manages 54 hectares of forestry. We recognise the importance of sustainable management practices to preserve our forests' ecological integrity. As a renewable source, wood provides a significant opportunity to reduce the economy's reliance on fossil fuels. We're committed to implementing responsible harvesting techniques, reforestation programs, ecosystem restoration initiatives, and sustainable production of timber and other forest products. Just want to thank you all, and I wish you well in your conference over the coming days. Food and fibre matters. The industries of food and fibre matter, and they matter to all of our communities and to our whole country. We have a whakatauki in Ngāi Tahu, and that gives direction to all of our decision making and the things that we do. Mō tātou a mō ka uri a muri aki nei, which means our decisions are for us today, for our children tomorrow, and for future generations not yet born. And when we make our decisions and we set our strategic line of sight into the horizon, that's what guides us. I'll leave that with you all. Thank you so much for listening to me this morning, and it was lovely to be here.